Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video, and today we're going to look at the WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS functions. Now what these functions do, they work in exactly the same way. It'll take a long list, a single column or a single row of data, and it will present it in a table kind of format, a three-dimensional kind of format, to make it easy to view your data. So as an example, I've got a list of all of the UK towns that begin with W, and there's 99 of them. And I want to see all of these towns in a single view. I don't want to have to go up and down the data. Now I can change the view percent here, but then it's harder to read the data. I could go down the data and copy and paste it and put it into chunks and move it onto one screen. But what I can actually do is I can use the WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS to do the same thing. So if I use WRAPCOLS first of all, there's two required parameters and a third optional parameter. So let's start with the first two. The vector, it's saying what data is it you want me to wrap, and the data is from A2 all the way down to A100. The next value is the wrap count, and what that's saying is, when it comes to the WRAPCOLS, it's saying how many values do you want in each specific column. And I'm going to say I want 7 values in each column. And then I'm going to forget about the final parameter for now. I'll press enter, and you can see here, if I just go up a little bit, there's all the data. There are 7 values in each column. So as soon as it gets down to the 7th value, the 8th value starts on the next column. So that's what that 7 is. It's nothing to do with the amount of columns across. It's to do with the amount of values in the column. So if I was to change that from 7 to be 8, there's now 8 values, and then on the 9th value it starts here, and it goes down 8 values until it gets to the end of the data. A few things to note. So the data will be displayed as it is in here in this list. And if I were to change the order and make it A to Z descending, that data changes. And you can see that. Also, we had that third option here. So this third option is, what do you want to do with any spaces, any values? We've got to the end of the 99 values. We've got 5 values here that are blank, or we've got not applicable error. We can do anything. We can put something in there. So I'm going to say we'll just want it to be blank. Or I can say we want it to say anything. And it will pad the values. And by default, it will just put an error. Also, the data is here. The data begins here. There's no data in these columns here. Now you can see that the formula here is grey, and when I go to where it began, the formula is black. If I wanted to amend the formula, I can't do it here. It doesn't exist here. There's nothing to amend. I've got to go here to make any changes that I want to make. Also, the fact that there's no data here, it's what's called a spill. So the formula's here and the data spills from this value here, spills outward. So there's no data here. If I were to put a value in here, you're going to get a spill error, meaning I've got data to spill into this area here, and that value is breaking it. So if I delete that, the data spills as it should. But there's nothing there. You can't delete it. There's nothing to delete. There's no data here. The data begins here. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't kind of interact with that data, but all you can do is either work with it here, or if you take the whole range and you copy it, put it down here, you can then right click, paste it as a value, and then you've got values here then. So you can see Watton's there, but if you go here, Watton isn't there. There's nothing there. It's a spill from here. One other thing to go through then is the WRAPROWS. Now WRAPROWS works in the same way. So WRAPCOLS says I want 9 values down here. If I change that to WRAPROWS, it's going to say I want 9 rows across. So it's going to start here, it's going to go across 9 to Waltham Abbey. Then it's going to go back here, it's going to go across 9. And that's kind of the difference. Now, as a real world example, I did have a need to do something like this recently. So if I open up this and I do Monday, and I drag this along to Tuesday, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a calendar that I could print off and write on. So what I did was I worked out what a Monday was going to be. So that's going to be the 2nd of February. And I put in the 2nd of February 2026. And I went down here and I put in a few months of data. So I've got there down to the end of July. Now, I went here and I said equals wrap rows. That's my range. Now I know, because I've got 7 days, I only want it to go across 7, which is quite handy. And I'm not bothered about the dealing with the padding. So then I've got this value here. And if I format those to be dates, I was then able to make these a little bit bigger and make these a little bit bigger and print them off and use them as kind of like a calendar. It worked for me. It was handy. It's what I needed, and it allowed me to print this off and write on it, just as an example of how WRAPCOLS could work. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions or queries, please leave me a message. Thanks for your time. See you next time.